The wind howled across the Antarctic research station as Kate Miller adjusted her headphones. The night shift at the Deep Space Listening Post was usually quiet. Most of her colleagues thought monitoring for extraterrestrial signals was a waste of time. Tonight proved them wrong. The signal came through at 2:17 a.m. Earth Standard Time. At first, Kate thought it was just random noise or perhaps a glitch in the equipment. But then patterns emerged. Mathematical sequences, repeated structures. This was no natural phenomenon. Kate's hands trembled as she ran the standard first contact protocols. Her breath fogged in the cold air of the station despite the heating systems working overtime. The message was being broadcast on multiple frequencies simultaneously, powerful enough to be picked up by their equipment, despite being aimed primarily at government facilities around the world. "This can't be happening," she whispered to herself, reaching for the secure phone. Within minutes, she was connected to her superiors in Washington. 6 hours later, President Andrew Clark sat at the head of a long table in the White House Situation Room. His face was grim as he looked at the men and women assembled before him: the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Secretary of Defense, the Director of National Intelligence, and several scientists hastily flown in from various research institutions. "Let me understand this clearly," the president said, his voice steady despite the extraordinary circumstances. "An alien organization calling itself the Galactic Council has sent Earth an ultimatum." Dr. Olivia Bennett nodded. The xenolinguist had been working nonstop since the message came through. "Yes, Mr. President." The message was transmitted in over 200 Earth languages simultaneously, plus a mathematical language we're still decoding. The content is unmistakable. They're demanding Earth submit to their oversight and control. Admiral Frank Shepard leaned forward. "This has to be some kind of hoax. Maybe the Russians or Chinese testing a new psychological warfare technique." "I thought so too initially," Dr. Bennett replied. "But the transmission originated from beyond our solar system, and there are vessels approaching Earth now. We've confirmed with multiple independent observatories." The room fell silent. On the large screen at the end of the room, satellite images showed several objects moving toward Earth at impossible speeds. "What exactly do they want?" the president asked finally. Dr. Bennett opened a folder. "According to their message, we've been classified as a Class 4 volatile species. They claim we're too unpredictable and dangerous to remain unmonitored. They want us to accept their guidance and oversight in all major governmental, military, and technological matters. Or else," President Clark asked, "or else they'll isolate us completely from what they call civilized space. The implications are that they could enforce this through military means if necessary." The Secretary of Defense snorted. "They come here threatening us and call themselves civilized." President Clark raised a hand for silence. "What do we know about this Galactic Council?" "Very little so far," Dr. Bennett admitted. "The message suggests it's a coalition of multiple spacefaring species that govern this sector of the galaxy. They claim to have been observing Earth for centuries." Outside the White House, life continued normally. People walked their dogs, drove to work, and worried about everyday problems, completely unaware that humanity had just received its first official contact from extraterrestrial intelligence, and that it came in the form of a threat. As the meeting continued into the night, satellites and telescopes tracked the approaching vessels. News outlets began reporting unusual astronomical phenomena, but official channels remained silent. The president ordered the military to high alert, while maintaining absolute secrecy about the real situation. In Antarctica, Kate Miller continued analyzing the signal, discovering embedded data packets that contained images of Earth taken from space, some from angles and times that proved no human satellite could have captured them. The evidence was undeniable. Humanity was not alone, and their cosmic neighbors were not pleased with them. The Galactic Council was coming, and Earth had a decision to make. Dr. Olivia Bennett had not slept in 36 hours. Her office walls were covered with printouts of the alien message. Cups of cold coffee littered her desk. 3 other linguists worked with her, but they all looked to her for guidance. She was, after all, the world's foremost expert on theoretical alien communication. "There's something hidden here," she said, pointing to a section of the message. "The words are polite, diplomatic even, but the structure suggests threat." Her colleague nodded. "Like when someone says, 'That's a nice planet you have there. It would be a shame if something happened to it.'" Dr. Bennett circled a phrase. "Exactly. Look at this section about protective oversight. The root structures of these words in multiple languages carry connotations of dominance, not protection." The secure phone on her desk rang. It was the president again. Meanwhile, on the edge of Earth's atmosphere, Captain Ethan Harris guided the U.S. Defiance back from its training mission. The Defiance was humanity's most advanced spacecraft, officially classified as an orbital research vessel. Unofficially, it was Earth's first attempt at a defensive space platform. "All hands prepare for emergency docking procedures," Harris announced over the intercom. "This is not a drill." His second-in-command, Lieutenant Peter Rodriguez, approached with a tablet. "Sir, these orders don't make sense. We're being recalled for a briefing about first contact." Harris took the tablet, his face grim. "Apparently, the neighbors have finally come knocking, Pete, and they don't sound friendly." Back at the United Nations headquarters in New York, delegates from around the world gathered in an emergency closed session. Security was unprecedented. The Secretary General, Lisa Reyes, had aged 10 years in the last day. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "what I am about to tell you will change human history forever." The room erupted in shocked murmurs as she explained the situation. On screens around the chamber, images from space telescopes showed the approaching alien vessels. "They call themselves the Galactic Council," Rice continued. "Their message has been independently verified by 15 nations. This is not a hoax. This is not a drill." A delegate from Russia stood up. "Why should we believe these threats? Perhaps they are peaceful." Dr. Bennett, who had been flown in to brief the UN, stepped forward. "We've discovered something disturbing in our analysis. Several major natural disasters over the past century appear to have been engineered. The Indonesian tsunami of 2004, the Australian wildfires of 2020, the Mediterranean earthquake of 2031, all show patterns that suggest artificial triggering." Silence fell over the room. "They've been warning us," Dr. Bennett continued, "demonstrating their power in ways we would interpret as natural events. It's only now, when they've lost patience, that they're communicating directly." At a classified military base in Nevada, intelligence analysts reviewed satellite data from the past decade. What they had previously dismissed as asteroids in unusual orbits now appeared to be something else entirely. Their monitoring stations, explained the lead analyst to the Joint Chiefs of Staff via secure video link. "We've identified 17 of them in orbit around Earth or stationed in the asteroid belt. Some have been there for at least 50 years, possibly much longer." Admiral Shepard frowned. "You're saying they've been watching us for decades?" "More like centuries, sir. And they've been gathering data on everything. Our wars, our technology development, our communications." On the Antarctic Research Station, Kate Miller made another discovery. The signal contained embedded images, thousands of them. Pictures of Earth's wars, nuclear tests, environmental destruction, and rapid technological advancement. "It's like they're building a case against us," she said to her supervisor over the secure line. "Like a prosecutor showing evidence of a crime." The supervisor sighed. "Keep this quiet, Miller. The world's not ready to know everything yet." As night fell across different parts of the planet, few humans slept peacefully. Those who knew the truth lay awake, wondering what the coming days would bring. Those who didn't know carried on, blissfully unaware that visitors from beyond the stars were about to change everything. And in space, the Council's ships drew ever closer to Earth. The massive Council ship entered Earth orbit on a Tuesday morning. It appeared suddenly, as if stepping through an invisible door in space. The vessel was unlike anything humans had ever built. shaped like a flattened diamond with glowing blue lines running across its dark surface. It was over 3 miles long. Panic spread quickly. Despite government attempts to control information, amateur astronomers spotted the ship almost immediately. Videos spread across the internet. Stock markets crashed. Religious leaders called for calm or proclaimed the end times, depending on their beliefs. President Clark addressed the nation, confirming the arrival of extraterrestrial visitors and urging calm. "We have been in communication with them," he said, his face serious but composed. "They call themselves the Galactic Council. We are negotiating with them peacefully." What he didn't say was that these negotiations were happening under threat. At the United Nations building in New York, security forces created a perimeter 5 blocks wide. Police cleared the area as a smaller vessel detached from the main ship and descended toward Earth. It landed with surprising grace on the large lawn in front of the UN building. Secretary General Lisa Rice stood at the entrance, flanked by world leaders and military personnel. Despite the summer heat, she felt cold. The ship's door opened silently. Ramps extended to the ground. And for the first time in recorded history, humans watched aliens walk on Earth. High Counselor Xel Toraf led the delegation. He, or it, stood 7 feet tall with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer like fish scales. 4 arms emerged from a narrow torso, and his large eyes contained no visible pupils, just swirling patterns of silver. Behind him came 7 other aliens, each a different species, each stranger than the last. "Greetings, representatives of Earth," Xel Toraf spoke in perfect English. His mouth didn't move exactly with the words, suggesting some kind of translation technology. "I bring you the collective wisdom and guidance of 5,000 years of galactic civilization." The meeting moved inside, to the General Assembly Hall. Only select humans were allowed to attend. Every news station on Earth broadcast the historic event. Xel Toraf stood at the podium designed for human speakers. "Your species stands at a crossroads," he said, his voice somehow both gentle and firm. "You have great potential, but also great capacity for self-destruction and violence against others." A large screen behind him lit up, showing images of human wars, nuclear explosions, environmental destruction, and weapons manufacturing. "You have been classified as a Class 4 volatile species," he continued. "This classification is not made lightly. Of the 327 intelligent species in our records with similar profiles to yours, 265 destroyed themselves before achieving space travel. The others required intervention." The room remained silent. The aliens' words hit hard because they contained truth humans recognized about themselves. "The Council offers guidance, not conquest," Xel Toraf said. "We will help you overcome your violent tendencies. We will share limited technology. We will prepare you, over time, to join galactic society." Then came the terms. Earth must disarm all nuclear weapons within 1 year. Humans must accept council advisors in all major governments. Space exploration beyond the solar system would be restricted until humans proved themselves trustworthy. Military development would be overseen by council representatives. "You have 30 Earth days to accept these terms," Xel Toraf concluded. "This is generous by council standards." After the session ended, Secretary General Rice met privately with President Clark in a secure room. "They're not offering partnership," she said, her voice low. "They're offering a cage with a comfortable bed." President Clark nodded. "Did you notice how they never once mentioned what happens if we refuse their generous offer?" "Yes," she said, "and that worries me more than any threat could." Outside, protesters gathered beyond the security perimeter. Some carried signs welcoming the aliens. Others demanded they leave. Most people simply watched the sky in wonder and fear, trying to process that everything had changed in a single day. The council had arrived, and humanity had 1 month to decide its future. In public, world leaders nodded politely as council representatives toured their capitals. They spoke of cooperation and consideration of the alien terms. Behind closed doors, a different story unfolded. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility not found on any official map, Dr. Gregory Allen worked without pause. The physicist had been flown in under cover of darkness 3 days after the Council's arrival. His laboratory was filled with equipment salvaged from a Council monitoring station that had crashed in the Pacific Ocean 15 years ago. At the time, the world thought it was just a meteor. It's their power systems, Dr. Allen explained to the Joint Chiefs during a secure video conference. They use a form of energy that creates small tears in spacetime. Efficient, but it leaves them vulnerable to certain frequency disruptions. Admiral Shepard leaned forward. Vulnerable how exactly? Their shields, weapons, even their communication systems all run on the same principle, Dr. Allen said, pointing to complex equations on a board behind him. If we can generate the right counter-frequency, we might temporarily disable them. Might? Someone asked. Dr. Allen shrugged. It's alien technology. I'm working with limited data, but the principles are solid. Meanwhile, in Earth orbit, Captain Harris and the crew of the U.S. Defiance conducted what appeared to be routine maneuvers. In reality, they were testing new shield technology based on Dr. Allen's theories. Another 10% increase, Harris ordered as they ran the 5th test of the day. Let's see how much this system can take. Lieutenant Rodriguez checked the readings. Sir, we're pushing the generators to their limits. That's exactly what we need to know, Harris replied. The Council ships would crush us with their current output. We need to find out if we can even survive a single hit. The Defiance was just one piece of humanity's secret response. Throughout the world, soldiers trained, scientists worked, and factories were quietly retooled, all while Earth's representatives smiled and talked about peaceful cooperation. In a secure underground facility in Geneva, President Clark met with leaders from 28 nations. Once bitter enemies, they now sat together, planning Earth's defense. The Chinese military is at your disposal, said Premier Wu, his face solemn. Our scientists have been studying their communication systems. Russia offers its special forces and space capabilities, added President Baranov. We have been tracking the Council vessels' blind spots. One by one, nations pledged their resources. For the first time in human history, there were no divided loyalties, no competing interests. There was only Earth against the stars. Major Samantha Wright stood before the assembled leaders, her uniform crisp despite having just returned from a dangerous mission. My team successfully infiltrated and gathered data from one of their monitoring stations in the asteroid belt, she reported. She displayed images on the large screen. The good news is their attention is focused on Earth itself. The monitoring network has gaps we can exploit. The bad news is we've confirmed they have weapons capable of targeting specific electronic systems from orbit. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Council could potentially shut down Earth's power grids, communication systems, and military equipment without firing a single conventional weapon. How long before they realize what we're doing? Asked the German Chancellor. Hard to say, Major Wright answered. They seem overconfident. They don't view us as a serious threat, which gives us an advantage. President Clark stood up. Every hour we buy is critical. Our public representatives will continue diplomatic talks, request clarifications, details, ask for minor concessions, anything to drag out the process while our preparations continue. As the meeting concluded, an aide handed Clark an encrypted message. His face changed as he read it. Something's happened at the Antarctic Research Station, he announced. Dr. Bennett needs to speak with us immediately. Around the table, the leaders of Earth shared a look of both hope and fear. With each passing day, the Council's deadline drew closer. Humanity needed every advantage it could find if it hoped to maintain its freedom. And perhaps Antarctica held the key they were looking for. Kate Miller trudged through the Antarctic snow, following a signal her equipment had detected 3 days ago. The wind cut through her thermal gear, but she pressed on. What had begun as an unusual energy reading had become her obsession. Control, I'm approaching the coordinates now, she said into her radio. Still no visual confirmation of anything unusual. Proceed with caution, Miller, came the reply. Your backup is 20 minutes out. Kate checked her scanner again. The energy signature was growing stronger. She crested a small ridge of ice and stopped suddenly. Before her, partially exposed by recent unusual warming patterns, was what looked like a metal doorway embedded in the ice. Control, you're not going to believe this, she whispered. 6 hours later, a team of scientists and military personnel had established a perimeter around the site. Heaters melted the surrounding ice while engineers worked to open the ancient door. Kate stood beside them, refusing to leave her discovery. With a groan of metal that had not moved in millennia, the door finally opened. Lights automatically activated inside, revealing a corridor that sloped down into the ice. It's some kind of outpost, Dr. Bennett said, examining symbols on the walls as they cautiously proceeded inside. But not Council technology. This is something else entirely. The facility extended deep beneath the ice, room after room of strange equipment, some still humming with power. In what appeared to be a control center, they found data storage devices and what looked like weapons. These symbols, Dr. Bennett said, excitement in her voice. I recognize patterns similar to what we've seen in old astronomical records. I think this belonged to a species called the Vorik. Who were they? Kate asked. According to scattered references in ancient human texts that we previously thought were myths, they were visitors to Earth thousands of years ago. They disappeared suddenly, and no one knew why. Dr. Bennett touched a control panel, and it lit up in response. Until now. The team worked quickly to download and translate the Vorik records. What they found changed everything. The Council isn't what they claim to be, Dr. Bennett explained to President Clark and the other world leaders in an emergency briefing. According to these records, they'd been using the same tactics across the galaxy for over 50,000 years. They identify volatile species, then use threats to force compliance. Once a planet accepts their terms, they slowly strip away all autonomy until the species is effectively enslaved. The room erupted in angry murmurs. There's more, Dr. Bennett continued. The Vorik were one of the few species who successfully resisted. They developed technology specifically designed to counter Council weapons, and they left it here, on Earth, as a safeguard in case the Council ever came here. Why Earth? President Baranov asked. The records suggest they saw potential in early humans. They believed that if we survived long enough to develop as a species, we would need protection from the Council eventually. Major Wright stepped forward. The data we recovered from the asteroid monitoring station confirms this. We found records of 17 other species currently under Council control. All began with the same guidance program they're offering us. President Clark studied the images of Vorik technology. Can we adapt this to work with our systems? Dr. Allen, who had been examining the technical schematics, nodded slowly. With the right modifications, yes. Their defensive systems work on principles similar to what I've already been developing. This could cut years off our research time. How long do you need? Clark asked. Dr. Allen exchanged looks with the other scientists. With global cooperation and unlimited resources, maybe 3 weeks. You have 2, Clark said grimly. The Council is growing impatient with our delaying tactics. As the meeting concluded, Kate approached Dr. Bennett. There's something else in the records, she said quietly. Something about a hidden Vorik fleet. Dr. Bennett's eyes widened. Where? That's just it, Kate replied. The coordinates point to the dark side of the moon. Hope flickered across the room as the information spread. For the first time since the Council arrived, humanity had more than just courage on their side. They had a fighting chance. The 29th day of the Council's ultimatum dawned with tension hanging in the air. Above Earth, the massive Council vessel had been joined by 3 smaller ships. They positioned themselves in a pattern that covered most of the planet's surface. Inside the United Nations building, High Counselor Xel Toreth's patience was clearly wearing thin. His forearms moved in agitated patterns as he addressed the human representatives. "Your delaying tactics are transparent," he said, his silver eyes swirling faster than usual. "We have given you ample time to consider our generous terms. The Council does not make such offers lightly." Secretary General Reyes maintained a calm expression despite her racing heart. "We appreciate the Council's patience. Earth's governments have many questions about the implementation of your oversight program. We are a diverse planet with thousands of cultures. Integration will take time." Hil Toreth made a sharp clicking sound. "Time is a luxury you no longer have. The Council has detected unusual activity at several military installations around your planet. Your species continues to demonstrate why oversight is necessary." In the observation gallery, Dr. Bennett whispered to President Clark, "He knows something's happening. They must have detected our preparations." Clark nodded slightly. "We need another 24 hours. Keep them talking." Across the globe, humanity's resistance plan moved into its final phase. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Allen and his team worked without rest, integrating Voric technology with Earth's defense systems. The complexity was enormous, but the ancient aliens had left detailed instructions embedded in their data. "The power coupling is reaching critical tolerance," one engineer warned as they tested the main defense array. "It'll hold," Dr. Allen replied, though sweat beaded on his forehead. "It has to." On the moon base, officially listed as a small research outpost, Major Wright and a Special Forces team had located the hidden Voric hangar. Inside were 7 sleek vessels, smaller than the Council ships, but emanating the same type of energy signature. After thousands of years in stasis, their systems responded to human touch as if they had been waiting. "This is Moonshot to Control," Wright radioed back to Earth. "Package is confirmed and operational, awaiting final orders." Meanwhile, the U.S. Defiance and a fleet of Earth's most advanced spacecraft maintained position in the shadow of Mars, hidden from Council sensors by the planet's magnetic field. Captain Harris addressed his crew and, by extension, all the pilots in the makeshift armada. "This isn't just about Earth," he said, his voice steady. "This is about every species that's ever been bullied into submission by the Council. Today, we show them that humans don't take kindly to threats, no matter how advanced the species making them might be." Back at the United Nations, Hil Toreth's patience finally snapped. He stood to his full height, towering over the human delegates. "The Council has been more than fair," he declared. "Your continued resistance to our guidance leaves us no choice. You have one final opportunity to accept our terms. After that, we will be forced to take more direct action." "What kind of action?" Secretary General Reyes asked, though she already knew from the intelligence they had gathered. "A pacification pulse," Hil Toreth explained, almost smugly. "It will disable all electronic technology on your planet. Your civilization will effectively be reset to a pre-industrial state. You will then have no choice but to accept our help to rebuild." A murmur ran through the assembly. Even those who had been advocating for cooperation with the Council looked shocked. "You have 6 Earth hours to provide your final answer," Hil Toreth said, turning to leave the chamber. "I suggest you use it wisely." As the alien delegation departed, President Clark received an encrypted message on his secure device. It contained just 4 words from Dr. Allen. "Defense system is ready." Clark looked at Secretary General Reyes and gave a slight nod. She understood the signal and pressed a hidden button under the table in front of her, sending a prearranged message to military commands worldwide. The countdown to humanity's response had begun. 6 hours passed quickly. The Council ships moved into attack formation above Earth, their weapons systems powered up, visible as glowing points on their massive hulls. In cities worldwide, people looked up at the sky, many not knowing these might be the last moments of life as they knew it. High Counselor Hil Toreth stood before the United Nations Assembly once more. His silver eyes showed no emotion as he gazed upon the human representatives. "Your time has expired," he announced. "What is Earth's answer to the Council's terms?" President Clark stood up. He walked slowly to the podium, looking calm despite everything. The world watched through countless broadcasts, holding its collective breath. After careful consideration, Clark began. Earth has decided to decline the Council's generous offer. Murmurs spread through the alien delegation. Seltoreth's skin flushed a darker blue. Perhaps I was unclear about the consequences, the High Counselor said. Without our protection, your species faces isolation or worse. Clark nodded. We understood your terms perfectly, and our answer remains the same. Earth will determine its own future. Seltoreth raised all four of his arms. Then you leave us no choice. The pacification sequence will begin immediately. He pressed a device on his wrist. Above Earth, the Council ships began to glow brighter as they charged their weapons. Clark looked at his watch and smiled slightly. Actually, we've already made our choice. At that exact moment, Dr. Allen activated the planetary defense system, modified Voric technology, installed at strategic points around the globe, surged to life. A shimmering energy field expanded outward from Earth, invisible at first, but soon glowing blue as the Council weapons fired. The pacification pulse hit the shield and scattered, harmlessly dissipating into space. On the Council ships, alarms blared as their systems registered the unexpected resistance. But Earth's response had only begun. From behind the moon came Major Wright and her squadron piloting the ancient Voric vessels. They moved with impossible speed, targeting the Council monitoring network. One by one, the hidden stations that had watched Earth for centuries went dark. This is Moonshot Squadron, Wright reported. Monitoring network is offline. They're flying blind. From Mars' shadow, Captain Harris led the U.S. Defiance and Earth's fleet toward the Council's command ship. They focused their weapons on the weak points identified through Dr. Allen's research. Target their primary power conduits, Harris ordered. Don't give them time to adapt. In the United Nations, chaos erupted as the building shook. Council delegates rushed toward their shuttle. Seltoreth stared at President Clark in disbelief. What have you done? He demanded. This technology, it's Voric. They were destroyed millennia ago. Apparently not completely, Clark replied calmly. They left us a gift, and a warning about you. Outside, the battle raged in orbit. The Council ships, though powerful, had not faced real resistance in thousands of years. Their tactics were rusty, their crews overconfident. Earth's smaller vessels darted between them, striking with precision. Seltoreth received an urgent communication from his ship. His silver eyes widened as he listened. This is not over, he warned, backing toward the exit. The Council has ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. You are nothing but a primitive species playing with technology you don't understand. Perhaps, Secretary General Rice said, stepping forward. But we understand one thing perfectly. Freedom is non-negotiable. As Seltoreth fled to his shuttle, the Council's main vessel began retreating from Earth orbit. The smaller ships followed, their formation broken, several showing damage from Earth's unexpected counterattack. Across the planet, people cheered as they watched the alien ships withdraw. It wasn't a decisive victory. Humanity had merely bloodied the Council's nose, but it sent a clear message throughout the galaxy. 3 days later, Kate Miller sat in the Oval Office as President Clark offered her a new position. Earth's first ambassador to the galactic community, he said, we'll need someone who understands both the Council and the Voric legacy. Kate looked at the ancient star map spread across the president's desk. They'll be back, won't they? Eventually, Clark agreed. But next time, we won't be alone. The Voric records mention other species resisting Council control. Our next step is to find them. As Kate accepted the position, a new chapter began for humanity. The stars were no longer just points of light in the night sky. They were destinations, and Earth had announced its arrival on the galactic stage, not with a whisper, but with a roar.